Live video is starting. Oh, Lord. There we are, folks. There we are. Live, live on the book. All right.
You're live.
Well, welcome to Judging Bouncing Balls, episode 35. Paul, how we doing?
Good. How are you? I'm excited to finally get asked to be on here.
I know, right? Well, first off, Jeremy went on vacation and left me the keys here. I talked to him today, and I think he was questioning whether this is a good idea or not. He said he might stop in if he is, he's in like the Smoky Mountains or something. I don't know. Doing more family. That guy loves family more than we love the Green Bay Packers. I tell you,
Father of the year.
Yeah. Oh God, every year. I mean, it's like a no contest, no brainer. But he gave me permission and he taught me how to go live. So I ruined everything today. Actually, if you go on YouTube, you'll see a 15, 30-minute clip of me, just my face doing nothing but my fat face sticking out. So I don't know how to get rid of that. But we'll figure that out. But good to have you on. And I wanted to really bring you on. Last week we had a lot of questions about wrestling, right?
Yes.
You're kind of the guy, and you can kind of hold on. Sheedy, we're gonna have a third, if this works, third gentleman join us. And he is another parent in the youth sports in different ranges. So, but why don't you give a little background on you and your sport history and kind of the kids you have and what you're doing?
Yeah, so I had two girls in the club. Well, now one. My oldest has decided not to play anymore. A little disappointing, but she was in the club up until until yesterday, basically, as the new season started. So 2 girls in the club. Part of the club for a couple of years now on the board. Really like youth sports. Coached pretty much everything but soccer. Hated soccer for a long, long time. Growing to appreciate it now. But coached a lot of football, baseball, wrestling through the years for youth sports. So I'm a big supporter of it. We support it as a company and as individuals. Really like the youth sports aspect of it. I played football, wrestled, and played baseball, and then a little bit in college of wrestling and baseball, and then got into coaching and really enjoy what youth sports has to do. So been having fun listening to you and Jeremy talk. Hopefully, like as we were kind of talking right before we got on about who's going to comment now. So hopefully Joe's out there or somebody's going to make fun of us because I make fun of you guys enough during your podcast normally. But last week you were talking about crazy parents. And if you've not been to a wrestling tournament, you are missing out because that is, I think, by far the craziest set of parents there is.
When you see the videos, right, you see the mom on the sideline, and then all of a sudden she's on the mat and she's attacking kids. Did that happen? Did that truly happen?
That did happen. Actually, one of the moms was from Bayport.
Easy, really. I mean,
hey! I'm trying to stay really enamored, but no, that does happen. I would say not as much as it's probably published, but the craziness is real no matter what. I don't think there's a lot of attacking, but wrestling, I think, especially on the youth level, it's so intense, and a lot of the parents that are not used to it are one of the issues because they're the first time they're probably seeing their kid get, for lack of a better term, beat up, and they can't handle that part of it. It's also one of the only sports that allows you, like, legitimately you're within, a foot of the atmosphere. Like on the youth sports, they have them right for a youth wrestling tournament. They're right on the mat. So I think you got that, and then you have every dad or sister or brother that ever wrestled who thinks they're Olympian yelling their kid what to do, and it's just you have 800 to 900 people in usually a Division II or Division III gym that's not real big, and there's just a lot of energy and a lot of frustration. And then there's tears, and then there's kids getting screamed at. And it's like Matt's here, upside down.
Paul, we'll get back to that in a
Yes.
second because we do want to dial in. But we were just joined by Matt Sheedy, one of the esteemed club members. In 2010, I'll preface it. Both your daughters play on the 2010 Wisconsin United Mighty Loons team. Premier. Is that the Premier? So the top team. And Matt's daughter is also going to be a senior at Bayport. He's got two other daughters, right? Think
That,
how many kids you have, Matt?
depends on who you ask, but 3 that I claim.
3.
Yeah.
So you got you're losing one to the senior, and then you have 2010, and then you have a younger one.
Yep, I have an 06 on the premier team, a 10 on the premier team, and then one that's just going to go to the 9v9 field. So we got one ending and one kind of starting.
So if our DOCs are out there, they should thank Matt for paying his salary because he's writing checks, and it's fantastic. We need more of him. But we'll get into your expertise right now. Paul's kind of telling us about the great sport of wrestling, and now, Paul, when did you get started? Because wrestling starts when you get out of the womb. For some, like Luxembourg Casco, like literally the minute you can walk, you're in a what's the kit called?
A singlet.
Singlet.
Yes.
I want to call it other stuff, but I won't.
Yeah, I've heard it all. Interesting for us, I think in this area, wrestling is obviously pretty big. Bayport, Platt. Jesus, man.
Together.
Coleman.
I'm a technology left behind.
Kakana. There's some really, really traditional good schools in the area, Wrightstown. But we got lucky. Where I grew up, my dad at that point worked second shift, and my brothers and I were basically fighting in the yard. And our neighbor was the youth wrestling coach and came up to my mom and said, "Hey, I'll take him off your hands for a couple hours every week if they want to come wrestle." And my dad was a basketball player, which made no sense because he's the same height as me, but he played for Fred Kessley, and so he knew nothing about wrestling. But my mom was like, "Yeah, get him out of our hair." So Bob Brusky, who was one of the still coaches, I think, to this day, grabbed us when we were like in kindergarten, first grade, and then that's how we started. And then finished through college. So that I didn't finish, but wrestled in college. So kind of the whole from the little to the bigger part of the sport. But yeah, it's a really big area for wrestling, especially in the mid '80s, early '90s, late '90s in this area, and it still is. It's just a little bit more south now. But yeah, it's a intense sport. So for me, it's interesting. My parents had to learn how to be wrestling parents, and then kind of for me, I had to learn how to be a soccer parent because I knew nothing about soccer. And then just the girls just started playing. So back in the day, I was not a great soccer dad, as Matt can attest. I was pretty intense about it. So that wrestling rolled over for me a little bit too much. I've learned to calm down in my kind of, right, Matt?
Relative, right?
Yeah.
Well, you had two daughters play in the club until this year. You have a sophomore and a 7th grader.
So yes. So my oldest is going to be a sophomore, and my youngest is going to be a 7th grader. So correct.
You boys are both in the fire of youth sport.
Yes.
Now, Matt, you coach soccer. Well, you stand on the sideline. According to some of the fathers on your team, you stand on the sideline and just look pretty. I don't know if that's true or not. What is your love for the sport? Because to stand on the sideline, you really got to love the sport.
Yeah, I started playing when I was very young, and at the time when I started playing in the area, it wasn't near as popular as it is now. So I really looked to a lot of dads moms that spent their time coaching to varying degrees of ability, but spent their time out there. And I think that meant a lot in a sport that you're trying to find a niche and find, a level footing with the likes of baseball and just really great sports of their own, but were much more popular and entrenched. And we were always kind of the one trying to fight their way in to get equity there. and really enjoyed the game and loved playing and loved playing after. Had an opportunity after college to coach. And when my kids grew up, always in the need of coaches, I grabbed onto that. I have some amount of coaching education. I don't profess to be an expert by any means, but I will certainly give my time. I try to be a lifelong learner, which I think I take into that. And as my kids get older, as Paul is doing, is becoming learning to be a soccer dad. I've really had to learn that as well. So I'm on the sideline for one now, and on the coaching side, and at some point we'll end that. And the other two, I have turned into a soccer dad. So I think the biggest challenge of becoming a soccer dad from a coach is not coaching while being a dad, which is sometimes easier said than done, and just trying to be that. But there's a lot of really great coaches in the club, and my kids have had, me aside, a lot of opportunity to have better coaching that I could provide. And that's, I think, one of the values that this club has, whether it be in a group training or a practice. Some really top quality coaches that spend a lot of time trying to make kids better and make this club better.
Yeah, but let's be honest. I mean, I'm a parent. I can coach the hell out of them from the sideline that I'm on. I mean, I think I take a lot of credit for where our team goes. And me yelling shoot at the inoperable time is pretty much the classic way to score. But now you guys are on the old tents, the girls. Now you guys are just coming into your own now. You guys self-proclaimed most viewers or something on Facebook, and your social media game is strong. I'll be honest. But what like like we all like soccer, right? And that's why we do this. But I'm more into it for the fun. And you guys seem to have a really good group of parents and a really good group. Now you join us this year on the travel squad, right? You're traveling with us.
Yeah. And Toby, I think you said something there. I think that is what makes this fun. I've talked at home with my better half several times around when this ride's over at some point. You're going to miss watching your kids play, but you're going to miss the heck out of the families you get to know. And I think that's kind of a big deal. And you talked about, joining up this fall and having a bigger soccer family grow. That's a lot of the fun of it. Otherwise that travel can get arduous.
Well, I mean, if you like, and there are a lot of parents on our team that we travel and then that's it, right? They have their dinner with their family and they call it a night, and I'm all for that. That's how. But I personally am I'm gonna grab a couple beers and go sit in the lobby and meet people. I mean, I've met even YouTube, for instance. I didn't know much about anybody from the area besides the friends I had until soccer. So it's been a blast, and I look forward to more travel. I think we only go to Detroit once, but I think we do Rockford. I don't know. We'll have Paul answer that later, a little later.
He'll probably have a scouting report on everybody too.
I think, Toby,
but that is the. Go ahead.
You brought up a good point too. I think with our team is there's not a lot of drama, at least on the field. The girls really got, have always played together well. They get along well. We just combined last fall, so they went from teammates they went from opponents to teammates, and that went very smooth. But there's not a lot of drama at all. I think we're probably one of the less drama-filled teams in the club. But the parents, that kind of spills over to the parents too. I think we're gonna, this whole new league, the E64 regional league, I think is going to be huge for the club because, our girls watch your girls and they watch Dusty's 06 team, but now you're going to have every team from U13 to U19, I believe, or U18 traveling, and that's 5-6 teams. There's nothing else that's going to be happening on those weekends. I think you're going to have more Loons fans on the sidelines. I think that's really going to make for the club to be a lot better too, because there's going to be less downtime. I think you're going to get done with your game. You're going to go watch the other teams play. Likely we'll all be at the same hotel. It should go pretty well. I'm excited about that part of it, probably more than anything, instead of getting done with a game and then, somewhat deciding what to do. Now we stick around and watch. The older girls.
Well, that's the fun of what our club. You mentioned E64. Now, the one thing that really bugs me about USYS, the USU Soccer, whatever it's called, is they seem to change everything yearly. When we joined the Appleton Loons, which when we combined, we were in Premier 2, I think. And then we took fourth place. And then they're like, "Ooh, fourth place is good enough to go to this league." And then we end up traveling all over, right? And then we went to YNL, and then last year Club B Club, and then this year E64. You two know more about E64 because I'm sorry.
Yeah, I don't do much work, so I just look up.
I should have phrased that. Sorry, Matt. I didn't mean to include you in that question. It's just a fault,
I will have a complete scouting report for everybody on every team probably every week. But from what we gathered, looking at the new league, and then even Dusty follow up today in our parent meeting was, so everybody in our club from a girls standpoint qualified for YNL Youth National League, and last year everybody, I believe, except for, well, no, everybody was in P2, YNL, which is Midwest Conference, at least for U13 and U14, which was us and the 2009s. And then 2008 and above got moved to YNL Club versus Club. And so they're in YNL under youth soccer, there's the top league is E64, and the second league in that ladder system is E64 Regional League, which is what we're in now. And then it's YNL P1, and then YNL P2, which we were in P2 last year. So we leapfrog over P1, and then from what I've gathered is Club versus Club is gone, and now that's kind of the regional league. But plus, and then one more tidbit that Dusty gave us today was, if you're in Elite 64, your top team has to be in this league unless you have another team. So some of the big clubs that have 5, 6, 7 teams, their top team will be in E64, and their second level team will be in our league. But if they only have one team, such as we do, we're all in, our top team is in this league. So that's this.
Oh, really? So if you have two really good teams, one's got to go up, and then one stays at our level.
If your team qualified for E64, so E64 is hypothetically the top 64 clubs in the country, and they look at it every 2 years, and then they split it by Midwest, West, Mountain, and I believe there's 10 teams or 10 to 12 teams. No, sorry, 8. It's divided. The country's divided in 8 leagues or 8 divisions, and then eight of them in the Midwest are in the top E64. So at the end of this year, if let's just say Libertyville, which I think is in Midwest E64, did not qualify well, they'll get dropped to our division now. And then somebody else's club will all go up to E64. So if the Loons come out and win every division, hypothetically, they could qualify for E64 in the future.
If you look at like the local ratings, E64, it's just how it ended last year. So E64 would be Bayport, right?
Yep.
And then E64 regional would probably be Kimberly, right? P1, Pulaski, maybe. Notre Dame would be in there. Just a good group, right? And then Amherst would be P2.
Yeah. But like if we were talking regular season games, like Pulaski would be like.
Well, we're not.
Right?
We're not worried about regular. Nobody cares about regular season. We only care about trophies and
Playoffs.
plaques.
We're talking about the
Right
playoffs,
to the
Paul.
national
Playoffs.
championship, I believe. Right to the national championship, we would be moved forward. We'd be like
we'll get into that later. Your Pulaski ties and there's a rumor out there you're transferring. I don't know if it's true or not.
Yeah, Andy Kingston.
But Serene is looking at Bayport. Andy King did. Okay, good.
Says Serene's going to go to Notre Dame.
NIL.
We can get NIL money at Notre Dame.
Y'all should go. Toby, your company could sponsor us all. Well, we could go to Shawano, play like in Division 4.
Can you get NIL money at Division 3 college level?
Yes, you can.
Wouldn't that be amazing? Like if you were super rich at a company and your daughter went and play soccer at Eau Claire, and she's got par and it's like Olivia Dunn, whatever her name is. Not that I follow her, I'm not into that stuff, but that'd be fantastic. It's kind of like having Sheedy's money around here.
Yeah. Talking to the two CEOs.
No, I don't know. I'm not.
Oh, at least I work. At least I work.
My Monday consists of looking at all the teams for the next week, and then I provide Toby a report. Try to beat Joe. I know Joe also looks for reports.
Last time I checked, it was Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday.
Yeah, well, come on, Matt.
Our head cheese said Eric's the best part about the new structure is clubby club aspect, coaches, siblings, community level travel. That sounds like a head statement, right? Like coaches, siblings, community travel together. Yeah,
That was
all we care about.
That was wordsmith.
It's right. We care about what hotel we're staying, which we both have the same team manager, which is very key. Because if you get a bad one, you're at Super 8. Let's be honest, we don't need that. And then it's when do we play? Because you want to play midday, you want to play at like 2, and then you want to play at like 10. Then you could stay up a little later, try to sleep in a little. That's what I look for. I'm not an early bird, and I don't feel good in the morning when I hang out in the lobby.
It'd be interesting if somebody had time on their hands. Maybe that's something I can do. I bet you the Loons do not play well in the morning. In all the years that we've ever been running around, I do not think any team that at least Matt and I's daughter has been on, if it's before 9:30, that's going to be a rough game. Even if we win, that's a rough start, and I don't know why.
Toby, I wonder if they ever thought about checking the hotel lobby air quality. That must be the reason you don't feel well the next morning.
I think I have allergies. Some of these hotels don't dust properly.
Yeah,
or I get into a bag of bad ice. Of bad ice Tuesday night. Wednesday morning, I felt terrible.
Mm-hmm.
But Matt or Paul, I think you're right because we play best. I think late afternoon and under the lights.
Our second, if we play 2 games in one day, our second game is usually our best. Or like an 11 to 1 o'clock start time. I would assume.
And Eric is true. The morning broadcast crew is a disaster. That is true. We're foggy. It's mostly raining in our head. Now, are you guys now you've moved up, right? You're in the big leagues now. Are you guys gonna have a broadcast crew? I mean, is this something that Schmidt's gonna have to do?
Well, our marketing budget.
Radio.
Our marketing budget is way bigger than the 2008s. I'm just judging by our Facebook page alone. We have media day, professional photography. I don't even know who takes those. We were going to maybe sub out our game film to you guys. Where we offer Bloody Marys in the morning, old fashions in the afternoon. Matt and Mike could possibly do some color commentary for you.
Run the sidelines, get some in-depth reporting.
Are you still on the sidelines, Matt, with the team?
No, I'm with the parents. So
because you hit that age group, right? Is that
yes?
I like that. I like that. No offense, but I like the rule.
I'm 100% behind the rule, Toby. I was blessed to have the opportunity to do it as long as I could, and let's just take any questions, no matter how I think straight you can play it. There's just too much there, and it just makes more sense to have really qualified coaches coach your kids.
Yeah, I mean, you get to a certain level, right? Your people are paying, and I'm sure you're a very fine coach. I don't know. I've seen a couple of your games, but I was there to talk to Paul. Paul did give us hats for our broadcast, so I got to play nice in the sandbox because we're hoping this year be maybe upped a little bit. But I think you're right though. You get to a point where I know we just switched coaches. Now we both have Rhodes as coaches.
Yeah.
Friendly wager,
and
Rhodes versus Rhodes.
We'll see. We'll get through the friendlies, even though I hate the term. I find that very, very European.
We're calling them preseason games.
Okay, I like that better because we all go down in 3 weekends.
So next weekend we play a scrimmage against the In Club, and then it's the following weekend. I think that 19th, 20th.
Oh, that's right. You guys play the nines on Sunday night
Under the
at
lights.
Norian.
Yes.
Yes.
That's kind of a big deal. Let's talk about that a little bit. That's kind of a big deal. I mean,
Is
back
Eric
when
still
we were
on? We
playing,
want to talk strategy if Eric's on. If he's listening.
we're not gonna. But back in the day when we were the 08s, well, we've always been the 08s, but we came in Howard, and the 09s always wanted to play us because we're always missing a player, and they would tie us, and they'd feel good about themselves. Well, it's now rumor has it they ran from you a little bit, maybe you reeled them in, and you know, I'm excited. I'm coming. I'm excited.
The nines are big. We have struggled with their size and speed for years. They're big. That's a big group that's a big team.
Is this a year? I haven't checked Vegas odds. I haven't gone on my app on CaesarsPalace.com. But is there I'm 2009 versus 10s. Eric's calling it the Malice of the Palace. Or something from the past.
Don't take the bait, Paul. Don't take the bait.
Oh, it's out there. It is out there. But I'm assuming you're going to get a goal or two, right? They brought in a girl. She's 30 from Indiana. I mean, I mean, they do have our executive director as their coach. I mean, they have like if Eric says we need a new ball, the budget shows up with a new ball. Let's be honest, where the rest of us just get one that we have to buy the parents.
Yeah.
Well,
They got a couple. They got a couple Danielle Montes, is the rumor. Like
Yeah.
I don't know with the birth certificate thing. Not sure if that's substantiated, but that's the word on the street.
We heard
Yeah.
they reloaded up pretty good, so they got a lot of new girls. We'll see.
You know,
New
Toby, you were
girls.
talking about transitioning over to the parent sideline, and I was thinking the hardest part about that is I gotta strategize of where I want to sit now to get like a good view. Like that was the spoilage of coaching. You could stand wherever you wanted, you weren't obstructed, and now, that's the hardest part of the transition. I got to figure out where to sit.
Well,
So
if you get there early, you get there's a half line, right, and then you get your half. And we always try to do as a broadcast would be close to the half line, but there's always a group of parents that would sit right away. Give me over there with their chair, and me not being the fastest squirrel in town, I took my time. But regionals, I was pushed way down. It's yeah, you're right. All of a sudden, you're just watching defense all half, and you're like,
yeah.
I think
this
where
stinks.
does your kid play too, right? That's kind of where your spot is. So we have a joke on our team. So obviously, I take the photos, and 9 times out of 10, I'll shoot the offense or the team coming towards me. Obviously, everybody wants to look at pictures of a face instead of a back of a number. But our goalie's dad, Keith, obviously sits on the goalie side. So at halftime, we jokingly, for the last 4 or 5 years, have walked past each other, briefly talked about what we saw, and moved on. And I think the conversation that we always have is, I would not want to be a goalie's dad. That would be the worst stress, I think, from a game. Because if your kid plays offense and they don't score, you're not supposed to score in soccer, right? 1 or 2 goals here and there, a 0-0 game, everyone's fine. But if your kid gives a ball up and you lose 0-1, like that stress has got to be really bad. So we joke about that all the time. Like, obviously, everybody wants to see their kid have a lot of action, except for the goalie's dad wants their kid to have the boringest game there is.
Yeah.
I still wouldn't want to do it. That's tough. So we split every half. We usually get to talk for a couple minutes before we're switching halves. But I think that's where you got to go, Matt. You got to decide where you want to watch. I mean, Joe's kind of.
Let me ask you this, because I stand in the same position, whether it's whatever side they're on.
Yep.
Yeah, there's a lot of parents that watch defense only. Like we have a dad that was on our team, and he would watch his daughter. Then halftime, he would switch. And you're not supposed to go on the other side because there's the safety line they call, and then you're supposed to each have your side. But I was just found standing in one place.
I go with
you coach your kid.
No one's gonna stop you.
Yeah, but you're also
taking
pictures. Why? Because you got to keep
calm. He's got to keep calm.
Yeah, if I don't take pictures, I'm going to get thrown out of a game. I mean, Matt can attest to that. One of the things, I mean, not to, I say this to Matt if he's on or not, but Matt was the perfect coach for those kids for years because he's so calm, and he dealt with the parents like me who were not calm until I picked up a camera. I couldn't do it. I mean, you have so many different levels of players at the U8 to U. I mean, even now, but from U8 to U9, U8 to U11, the difference in players on a team is so much different. I couldn't do it. The patience that he had was perfect for him, and then you obviously turn it over to the DOC, the coach. But that's where I wouldn't be able to handle that, and that's why I had to pick a camera up, because I probably wouldn't be in the club anymore. Me and Matt had to have a couple conversations about that to keep my mouth shut.
Toby, I'm with you. I kind of probably will stick in one spot in the high school seasons. I've learned to be a dad with my older daughter on the sideline, trying to get to me as close to midfield as I can and planting. Now, if I get an opponent by me or somebody I don't want to listen to, well, that might change my tune, but I think we're going to try to get near midfield and just stick it out there.
You got to be nervous with
this
the camera, though, too, Matt. I
What's
think
that?
What forgets, now I think it's funny when you watch the broadcast. Now, everybody on Toby's team, the 2008 team, they know they're going to broadcast, so they watch what they say. A lot of times they're getting drowned out by the cheering or the cowbells by certain people, which we love. That's awesome. But I think some of these new teams aren't going to realize that when they put that camera up, that it picks up everything.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting, too, because if you turn the mute off and start listening to on the replays when coach sends out the video, you catch a lot of conversations that I don't think people want to know that. I don't think they know that they're being recorded.
Yeah.
Well,
It's a pretty sensitive mic.
I was talking to one of the DOCs yesterday, and when they watch the VO camera, they can hear it all. And it's when they ask you not to coach, and all of a sudden all you hear is coaching from the parent sideline. Yeah, that is a different tool. That's why I like it when they put it with the players.
Yeah. One of the things I had to dodge when I transitioned the first time was, hey, why do you think they're doing this? I don't know. Looks like the right move to me. Why do you think they're doing this? Do you think they should do this instead? Yep, looks good to me. I don't know. Not my place.
Matt, we were a freshman this year, so we didn't get bounced into the high school scene until after. But what are your feelings between you're being a high school parent and then being a club parent? What is your outlook? Because you've had a couple of good years as a high school parent now, and then you've also been in the club scene.
I think the club, you had the advantage of it's a much longer calendar year. Prior to high school, it's really a 10-month season, right? Between all the trainings and games and tournaments. And then even as they're older, they got about a 6-month season. So you get a lot more continuity with parents. You get to know them. There's more opportunity to go out of town and, spend time that's, almost set up to be that way. High school is a little different. It's a group of nuts and bolts, and a coach has got to pull them together. And it's a bunch of different parents of, I think I was thinking of the Bayport team this year. I don't know, what do they have? 6-7 different club teams represented on that group. So, a lot of them, and you get to know them as time goes. And aside from losing in this state tournament, that was probably the hardest part, is you're just starting to hit a stride with some of those parents and really getting to know them as you go through those games.
Yeah, I felt as the season went on, it became a lot more fun for the parents. I mean, we started getting together pregame, after game. We had a routine. We were meeting out of town, and that, you're right, that's kind of what the club season's all about to me. Because the minute you get club season, you're off and running.
Yeah, in the club too, you had this advantage of more weekend based, and the high school season, better or worse, the weekdays, there's kids doing stuff. You got to get up and go to work the next day. So the club season lends, I think, a little more than that. But there's a lot of really good parents on that high school team, and to your point, as the year went, it was fun to get to know them.
Yeah, it seems like everybody's out there. It seemed like club too. Everybody kind of was a unit, because you do spend more. Or high school, you're kind of individual based for a while.
Mm-hmm.
We're kind of rooting for your kid, because I still don't know my 5 kids' names on the team, because I really didn't pay attention that well early on. But so I think, and then being a freshman, I think it'll be a lot more fun next year. And now your daughter's a senior, so she's kind of running the show. And as a parent, you need to run the cheers because you're a senior parent. So I am excited for that.
I don't know. It's hard to beat Fire in the Hole, and that's not even mine. So,
So
Matt, will live forever.
You're gonna get, how many years in a row are you gonna get of high school soccer then? because you've had 4. This will be your 4th with Dana,
8.
and then Josie's.
Yeah.
And will Josie and the goalie or something?
And put goalie in quotes. He uses that facetiously.
Are they going to overlap, or are you going to go 12 straight seasons?
They will go 11. I'll go 11 straight seasons.
Wow.
I was talking to one of the dads that had a senior on the team this year, and they were just wrapping up a similar run with 3 daughters. So I'm probably going to wear through a couple different Bayport wardrobes over that period of time.
God bless you. That's a lot of bench time.
Yeah, and nothing. That's the other thing about high school is you got to invest in a good bleacher seat. Otherwise, that's painful.
Well, don't you guys have clubs?
We do have a club seat section. It's not built yet. We're also going to have a rooftop. The elevators, the parts they're coming in from overseas, so they're behind a little bit with the crisis.
So did you switch from a gold to a copper top? Like, what kind of paint is that, or is that actually plated?
Yeah, that's
plated.
Yeah, that's plated.
Okay.
Yeah, well, you saw what happened downtown Green Bay on the courthouse, right, where they just painted it and then it iodized because of
Yeah, no,
we don't want to look like that.
That dome's big. That dome costs more than the GDP of Wisconsin.
Doesn't cost more than what? Neenah got a new field. Did you see the scoreboard they have?
No.
On their new complex.
Was it better than Rapids?
It's bigger than Rapids, but they kind of did a power move and stuck it right behind the opposing team's sidelines. So it's not in the end zone. So they put all the stands on one side, which I think is like 3,700 people. And then they stuck the scoreboard, which looks about twice the size of Rapids' scoreboard, right behind and right tight on it, on the inside of the track.
Yeah, the new sports complex at Neenah High School is amazing. We did a ton of work there, so I walked it. But you're right, the football stadium is all on one side. It's all like a brick facade, or it's a facade that they probably have how many press boxes upstairs, and then you go into the off track stuff, the shot put stuff, and then you go down a hill into the soccer stadium. So I'm calling it stadium because they have their own stands and lights, and they did grass. I guess the soccer coach wanted grass. So, and then there's a baseball diamond, softball diamond. So it would be fun to go down there and play. We played them at home this year, so I'm hoping we go there next year because I would like to go see it when it's fully functional.
That it looks unreal. That complex. And so was it a whole new school, Toby, as well? Like, is everything
400 I heard 476,000 square feet under roof.
Wow. I mean, that probably rivals, minus some of the D1 programs in the state. That's going to beat any college facility.
Yeah. 500 Rocket Way is the address.
It's something Kimberly would do.
Just spoken.
100 Papermaker Drive, right?
Maker. They don't
Papermaker.
It's straight Maker.
Makers. Kimberly's landlocked, right? Is there any more room? Are they at Schwabenon?
No, isn't Darboy? I don't know how is Darboy part of that. It's got to be close, and it's not.
I think they're landlocked. That's why Kakana built where they built. So they can have a recruiting battle back and forth.
I saw Greg was watching a little bit ago. I don't know if chimed in. Kimberleyite, but I think they have a little more room, but nothing like at some point. But that's why you build sports up and people transfer to your school. And I mean, that was at Schwaben in the early 90s. I mean, everybody wanted to go out at Schwaben, and their football team was top of the world. And then they've kind of taken a step back.
Yeah, I think I don't know the stat, but some significant amount of Schwabenon's enrollments, school choice. I think it might even be 50% or plus.
Yeah, Greg did chime in, not even close to landlocked. So they have got many years of building and recruiting to come.
Yeah, they're going to build up for apartments so all those recruits can stay there.
Right. Well, like Paul said, but they're wrestling, right, Paul? They're wrestling kids go to Kakana?
Yes, so Kakana has – so it's really interesting. So for years, it was Wisconsin Rapids. So Jeremy talked last week about why Stevens Point wasn't very good. They were actually very good. And, Bayport was very good. Pulaski was very good in the 90s and early 2000s. But Wisconsin Rapids, went on a roll and won, 17 state titles. It wasn't even close. And just as they started to die down, Kakana, now it's been on a roll. I think they've won, 8 of the last 9, give or take. But that's what happened early on. When school choice first happened, all those kids from Kimberly, a couple of their first state championship teams were mostly Kimberly kids. But they're so close. They're closer than Pulaski Bayport. They're within miles, right? You have Kimberly, Little Chute, Kaukauna, and Appleton North, probably all within the same area between Pulaski and Bayport.
Hence why you get River Surge.
River Surge.
What's River Surge?
Oh, Toby doesn't know this so Kimberly or Casa and Electric City combined and created a River Surge, which has to be one of the worst names for a soccer club in the state.
Is there a river down there?
I
Surge? I never got Electric City either.
Yeah, I don't know where that came from. All of a sudden, one day on the highway, they just wrote Electric City on the water tower, and I've never heard that before ever.
It was to distract people from the paper making process. Yeah. So, hey, Toby, I just want to thank you for letting me on here. Long time admirer and enjoy being on here. Hopefully I can earn the right to come back on. I am going to check out though. I got to go see if I can change out this pom-pom to a different color in the kids toy room. So I know I got some grief about that from some listeners earlier, but I do need to sign off, but I appreciate you having me, and hopefully I didn't get you canceled or anything.
You kept
have listeners get canceled, buddy. I appreciate you coming on. You enjoy the night. We'll do it again.
All right. Take care, guys.
Bye. Thanks, Matt.
All right.
Hopefully his uploads.
Yeah.
Oh well.
So Matt was more like Jeremy. He brought a professionalism to this. So you and I can get this thing off the rails now.
Hey, right. He did have a stern, steady look to him.
Yeah.
You know what I wanted to bring up? Actually, my wife just texted me a little bit ago. Did you watch the U.S. women's hockey in the World Cup, or not hockey, soccer in the World Cup?
Yeah.
And they played the Netherlands, right? And they tied 1-1, and there was a lot of pushing and shoving, and then they went on to play
Portugal.
Who did they play the other morning? Portugal. Right? And they tied 0-0 again. And did you see Carly Lloyd?
I did.
What were your thoughts on that?
I thought it was legit criticism. And I can't take credit for this. I read it that when she kind of came back out and had that, half ass apology, I guess, or, she came back out the next day and said, hey, I really do care for the team. I think that's pretty poor that she'd even have to say that. There's nothing wrong with her criticism. When's the last time?
100%.
What, 4 or 5? Not that we're huge soccer understand, but when's the last time that the United States should have been jumping up and down cheering a tie to take second place in group and move on? That'd be literally that would be like the 2008s going down to state 1 and taking second and being excited about it. In my opinion, I don't think there's anything wrong with what she said.
No, I'm with you. And that's kind of where I was very disappointed that she had to come out. And I'm sure somebody said something to her about saying something, but she's absolutely right. When do we celebrate as U.S. as taking second, not winning? And her best point was the player of the game was the post.
Yeah. Do you think they're going to beat Sweden?
I think they have to, right? You have to be able to make it to the final 8. Sweden's tough, but I think, she kind of called out the coach a little bit, which, I don't know who this coach is. Why do we struggle in the U.S. is finding soccer coaches at the highest level of U.S. play? Like the men's got in all that BS because the the mom of one of the players was calling the coach and bitching, and then there was problems there. It's like, what are we doing?
I don't know. I mean, I don't want to. I mean, is Eric still on? What does he think? I think they got.
Yeah,
I think they almost got arrogant. It seems like they're almost arrogant. Like they were just, if they show up, they're gonna win.
well, I think
thought the
we
Netherlands-
lost from soccer, right? We all of a sudden we were worried about pay, and I get it. Like that, if you that's your mountain, then go yell at it. But when it comes down to get paid, you got to play. Same on the men's side. I mean, we were into uh talking about social issues,
Mhm.
and all of a sudden different, we're not worried about the national anthem. All that crap pisses people off. And I just don't get, your brand is the United States, and the one thing you want to do is just make everybody irate, or
Mhm.
half the country irate. Just play by the rules.
Well, how much is it? And this is probably more of a question for like an Eric or a Dusty or a Sean, but how much is it like youth soccer in the last, or USA soccer in the last 20 years? How many different leagues have there been in? They can't even get their structure correct. Let's just talk on the girls' side. I mean, you have ECNL, you have YNL, you have GA, they used to have the development academy, and then that fell apart. Um, there's every 3 years another league pops up. I know Eric's talked about that numerous times, that just keep watering it down, so everybody thinks they're learning soccer. They're just trying to get a win and another trophy. And look at how many different national championships there are during a year. Like, what's the true national championship? So you have all that clutter in the youth system for 20 years. That's what's developing your older team. And then you have all the other countries that caught up to everybody, and they're probably learning soccer. I know Sean talks
Right.
about his team doing that, taking their lumps early, but learning how to play. And that first year was tough for them. And now they finished top 8 in the country.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think you're flat out right. I think we give away 8 gazillion trophies around this country, and then when it comes down to it, to put it together, I'm not saying they're bad, but I think we have players
No.
on that team who shouldn't be on the team. I think we have older players that
Yep.
it's time to pass the torch. I think youth wins in that game. Uh, I think there's players that have social sides or social warriors that they're afraid to get rid of. Now, this is my opinion, people, but I think they could do more with this team. And you know, Greg's right; they haven't played well since the last Olympics.
No. But youth sports in general, what's $6-7 billion industry for the United States? And in Europe, I don't think their structure is the same as ours. They're
Well, in Europe, if we had the European system, the Minnesota Loons would pretty much pay for our kids to play soccer.
yeah. I mean, to go back to, you asked me about wrestling before. The United States has done very well internationally for a long, long time, but for a while there, before they kind of changed everything, about 20 years ago, 25 years ago, the Eastern Bloc and those countries dominated because they just trained to win world championships and Olympic championships, where the United States was worried about money and growth. And so soccer could kind of be doing that too. And if they change it and they get everybody on the same board and moving forward, and more about development, it's probably better.
Well, when you had wrestling, right, you did it school based or was there club based?
Interesting was for us. It was very much club based, but we were fortunate to have, in this area, Bayport, Pulaski, Luxembourg, Coleman were, some of the best teams in the state year after year after year. Club did not really start until, 2010-ish, where there was one club in the 90s in Milwaukee called Ringers. And then Ben Askren, who is a couple years older than me, he wrestled for Missouri. He's from Wisconsin, wrestled for Missouri. 2-time national champion, 4-time finalist, won the Hodge Trophy, which is like the Heisman Trophy of wrestling, twice. And then he ended up in the Olympics, and he came back and kind of developed his own academy. And now he has 4 or 5 around the state, and turned wrestling into club. That was kind of what, some of the bigger areas did. Iowa, Pennsylvania, and he has totally changed the wrestling landscape. When I was in high school, one or two kids maybe would be ranked in the country. You know, it was a big deal. They were usually honorable mention. Wisconsin just came back from what would be considered this, like, from a soccer term, you know, the was it a Galaxy in your age group that won the national championship?
Yep.
So to get to that, say the national championship, either in the YNL aspect of it or even the ECNL championship, they do one national championship for wrestling through the year. It's actually in Fargo at the Fargo Dome, and they just had that. So there's 15 to 16 age groups or weight classes per age group. And it's, at our age group or, our girls' age group, they either be cadet or juniors. So, freshman, sophomore, or junior, senior. And Wisconsin had like 60% of the national champions this year. It's unheard of. And
Wow.
That was straight off of the club. And interesting for me, ironic, because when I was coaching youth wrestling, I hated the club. I thought it was not needed. And I got on a couple of the parents, like they were taking their kid to club, and I'm like, you don't need that. And now, for me, it's almost like a 180 because I would not want my kid to be in, a school-based program only, like a rec program or something like that, regardless of who was coaching. Now we've seen that going through and traveling. The club aspect of soccer is what makes you a better soccer player. You're playing against better competition. You're getting better coaching, training year long. So that's kind of what they did in wrestling. And now there's, I'd say, a dozen clubs in the state, but everybody goes to Askren, or AWA it's called. So I think he's got 4 or 5 locations. One's in Green Bay. So you'll have all your kids wrestle for the school, the high school season, but literally during the week even, they'll go to the club practices. They'll go to the club practices right after on the weekend, even during the high school season, and train with each other. So they're bringing,
Really?
a champion from Bayport and Kaukauna might be opponents during the week, but on the weekend they're training together. It's a huge difference.
Yeah, that is crazy. That is crazy because you think there'd be more rivalry, but it seems these clubs pull more kids together and end up knowing more kids or through ODP or whatever, and they actually become friends.
Yeah, I think becoming friends and learning the difference in training in wrestling is kind of nice. The one difference I would say between wrestling and soccer is you can't really jump around. I mean, you're either going to win or you're not going to win. So if we have, we've talked about that, you and I just personally, how many kids try to jump or they think they're going to get to a better club and then they get there and they realize it's not a big deal or it's not what it was supposed to be. You're driving to Milwaukee how many times a week and really why you're driving past, some really good competition and coaches in our club. But in wrestling, you can't really do that. So, you get a parent that thinks that their kid's not getting the right coaching or they could be better. It's very simple. You wrestle the kid that you think you're better at. If you can't win, you're out. So that's
I do think that's fantastic. What is we talked about last week, and I got to ask you, how many weight classes are there, and what's the difference? Like, is there a 105 and a 110?
So, when I was in school, in high school, there was 13 weight classes, and then which was nice because there was no ties. It was if you ended up with a tie score, it was whoever won the most matches. Well, it was an odd number, and then early 2000s. They went to 14, and just this year they went back down to 13. So they start, around, and I'd be lying if I knew exactly. It used to be 106. I think it's between 105 or 110 now is the first weight class, and then it's usually like every 7 or 8 pounds is another one. And then
what's the benefit of dying yourself to get to a lower weight class?
We would need another couple podcasts to get through all that, but I mean it's really, I mean, the bottom line is, we did it really dumb. I obviously don't look anything like I used to look when I would wrestling. It was honestly a lot of days because of that. Just the yo-yo dieting was not smart. But the goal was, or the theory is that you would be in better, that you could just get to that weight for 1/2 a second basically, and then recover. And, the kids that did it the right way, they really, kids walking around are not as in shape as they think they are. So you get in, you stop eating the sugar and the candy and just you watch your diet and you work out, you're going to lose a lot of weight. And then it's the next 15 or 20 pounds that kills you. And I think back to some of the dumb things that we did. It's horrible. I mean, you wrestle 130 on Thursday, but you come in on Monday at, 160 and you got to make weight in 4 days, 155. I think the worst I've ever saw, I think was like 31, 32 pounds, in a couple of days, 4 or 5 days. But I mean, it's mostly water weight, right? But I mean,
but I mean,
yeah, it was ridiculous. If we come around Tuesday afternoon, you maybe have 1 orange and 8 ounces of water in the next 2 days. And then you weigh in, then you balloon back up and then you come right back down. It was really dumb. I caught a lot of weight my senior year, but I did it the right way. The one thing your coach is always trying to tell you what to do, and then you don't listen to them. Do it the right way. You can cut a lot of weight and still eat a lot of money, a lot of food. But yeah, I think the one thing that WI did well in the governing body was just change all those rules. No more rubber suits. We'd be just stupid. Wrestling and practicing rubber suits, and you lose 12 to 14 pounds of water, and it was bad. I'm not happy about it or proud about it. It was some really dumb things that we did. Honestly, I don't even know how
the way it was.
I don't even know how we got through practice. Honestly, you'd eat, a couple things a day, or a couple things a week. I mean, a couple oranges, a little bit of water, and maybe 4 ounces of spaghetti, and 4 or 5 days, and then go wrestle. It was just dumb, really dumb.
It just seems so odd to me, right? You instead of just being like, I'm 155 and wrestling everybody else at 155, everybody cuts weight down to 135, and they're all the same kids that were 155.
Yeah, in theory, that you'd think that would be right, but yeah, I mean, it's different. When I went to college, I was recruited to wrestle 141, and I could compete at that. And then, the second semester came around, and that's when pizza and beer became a reality. And I remember getting on the scale after Christmas vacation, and I told my coach, I'm like, yeah, I don't know if I'm going to get down, past 165. And he's like, well, your spot's 141. I'm like, yeah, it's not happening. And they had me wrestle one tournament at 165, and I came off the mat, and I just looked at him. I'm like, yeah, I'm good. I'm out. I'll go play baseball. He's like, what do you mean? I'm like, I can't compete with these guys. I mean, they're a foot taller than me, and they were like 190 cutting down to 165, and I'm
Right.
the chubby 165 pounder. That should have been wrestling 141. So that's kind of the difference, especially at the older age. But yeah, I'm glad I have daughters. I don't want.
Right.
I'd want them. The sport taught me a lot, and I think it teaches a lot of people a lot of stuff. But man, to do it the way we did it was just stupid.
Yeah, they've cleaned it up though?
We had.
Yeah.
There's a lot of hardware that was won that way, but I don't know if it was really that smart. I think one of the nice things is that Askren I was telling you about, he's really promoting non-cutting. And just kind of watch your, again, I mean, you get on the scale at 150, wrestle 145. Yeah, you'll lose 4 pounds just working out.
Yeah.
But don't wrestle. He was one of the first ones. He won his first state title at 119. I think his last state title like 152. So he just kept going up. And then in college did the same thing. And I think that really showed that, hey, you can do this. You don't need to cut weight.
Yeah, I tried cutting weights when I was in 8th grade. You had to be 135 to play tackle football. I think it came in about 143, and they put a suit on me.
Yep.
And they had me run around, and I think I gained a pound. And I'm like, yeah, I don't think this is for me. So I never played 8th grade football. It wasn't that important in my life, but they're like, strap a suit on me, and I'm like, what am I doing? And it's Catholic school.
Yeah, it was nuts. I mean, the off season, so if you want to call it like almost club wrestling, if you want to call it, right, had no governing rules. So we would wrestle like in the Badger State tournament or the off season national tournaments, and the weight classes were a little different. They're wider. So when I was in school, it was like 132, 143, and 154. Well, that's a big jump, and we would literally just walk around and we'd figure out like a day before we'd strap a suit on in the middle of summer, and it's 90 degrees out and you go for a 5 mile run and you drop 154 down to 145. Just didn't eat that next day, weighed in the morning, made weight at 143. You only had to make weight once, and then you could go back up to 155, 160 by the time you're wrestling.
That's okay. So you weigh in, and that's your weight.
In Wisconsin, it is. So like if you're on a 1-day tournament, you only have to weigh in once. So you weigh in the morning, and you make weight literally for a second, and then it doesn't matter. You're good to go. On multiple tournaments, you have to weigh in every day, and you get a pound a day. So if you weighed 130 is your weight class, you make that, and then the next day you have to make 131. They give you a pound. Those are the worst things to do because you have to watch your weight. Michigan, which is really weird, allows you to weigh in the day before, which is the dumbest rule there is. My brother, as a freshman, weighed in. We were wrestling a tournament up in Marquette. It was kind of a school-run tournament for us in high school, but we weighed in on a Friday afternoon. So they would allow us to weigh in at our school if the athletic director watched us. And then her coach would make us not eat until we got to Menominee, Michigan, because then we were considered in Michigan. And we didn't have to wrestle for the next day. So I remember it was like a Christmas tournament type deal. And my brother Dan weighed 103 as a freshman, and he was in the finals the next night. And as a joke, he stepped on the scale before he walked out to wrestle in the finals. He was 131, but he was wrestling 103 championship match. Because
3%.
because he didn't have to make weight until we came back from holiday break, which would have been like January 7th. He had like 3 weeks for the next time he had to make weight. So like literally he's wrestling these kids that who, are just walking around the right weight. And we have probably tape somewhere about it. It's so funny. You can totally tell the difference. I mean, 30 pounds on a freshman at 106 pounds is a big difference. So yeah, they didn't like us coming up anymore and doing that. So that was we kind of did that a lot. But you can tell the people that cut the white way. I mean, Jeff Owens, was a wrestler, and I think he probably still weighs the same weight that he weighed when he was in high school.
Katie's dad?
Yeah, Katie's dad.
I didn't know.
All state. He wrestled for Wausau.
What?
Yeah, one of the Wausau schools.
Huh.
But I honestly, if I remember our conversation, I think he wrestled like 145, 150 or something like that. I'm sure that's about what he weighs now. You can tell the wrestlers that did it dumb because they all look like me. And then the ones that did it smartly still look like they could wrestle. That's bottom line. That's how it is.
Well, evidently everybody thinks I wrestled like you because
Yeah.
I gave up early. Well, that's interesting because I never understood wrestling. It's a different sport, and it seems to be cultish, but it seems if you're a wrestler, you're really into wrestling. There's communities that are hard wrestling.
Yeah, I look at it almost like soccer.
It's very similar. Very similar.
So wrestling a lot of times, got, if it was a 3-sport athlete, it was the last of their 3 sports or 2-sport, I think. And then there was the kids that only wrestled. And I think you're almost seeing that. We talk about that a lot where, how as a club do we get soccer to become more of the number 1 sport instead of the second one, in which I just don't understand that. We talked about that where you have a kid, boy or girl, who's on our, a top team from the club, and we're playing basically in the top league in the country or around that, right? And in the Midwest at least. And then they go, I'm going to go I'm just going to pick on a sport. I'm going to go swim. And then they're going to be worried about swimming more than soccer. And it just makes no sense to me.
We are running into that right now. And it blows my mind, right? We've been, what's that?
I was trying not to point out certain girls. Yeah, I know what you mean.
Well, and we've had the most success in our club on the girls' side.
Yes.
We've had 2 state championships. We've gotten an influx of new girls. We've had some girls leave, and you want to believe that this team is going to continue to have success. And then all of a sudden you're like, well, there's, this and that. And all of a sudden there's other sports. And I get it all. Like I get, but it seems like in these clubs, and our club's not big enough to just sign. I mean, we've heard them sign contracts, and I don't know if Galaxy does, but I've heard Michigan. I talked to a parent where they actually sign contracts. This is your number one sport, and if you can't sign it, there's a girl sitting behind you ready to take your spot. We don't have that in our club. We don't have the depth from A to Z. We have excellent soccer, through about 3 or 4 levels, but you also have to have parent commitment. You have to have, the means to do everything. And we just seem to, where all of a sudden we become second nature. And it's hard for everybody that signs up to be like, hey, you paid all this money, but we're going to go to this game and we're going to have 12 players.
Yeah, it's difficult. I think that's, the difference in youth sports now than it was, even 10 years ago. It's very difficult to play at a high level in more than one sport, and it's almost impossible to do it in 3. I mean, two is you're juggling a lot. If you're trying to do 3, God bless you, I don't know how you're doing it. And that it's a shame because I think we all grew up in an era where you could play multiple sports, but we were probably not playing anywhere near the level. As much as everybody around the bar says, how great everybody was when they were a kid. I mean, if you're really being honest with yourself, you were beating up on the city, on your same city or your same town or maybe the next town over. You weren't playing against teams from the Midwest or the country, and I think that's the difference now. I mean, how are you supposed to really do that? I'm somewhat glad that girls only play one sport, but it also makes my judgment clouded when I want to do one thing, or I think, a certain people on certain teams should do a certain thing. Until the club has every parent and every family trying to run the right way or the same way, not the right way, the same way, it's going to be tough to compete with. I mean, some of those clubs are taking from 2,000-3,000 kids at a tryout, and we're taking 80. It's just, it's night and day. I think it's actually pretty impressive how well the club has been able to do. Considering, I mean, even against the Milwaukee schools and stuff, it's a pretty big accomplishment what the club has been able to do in the last 2-3 years.
Yeah, they continue to grow. We're finally seeing an influx of Milwaukee kids coming up here, coming back to our neighborhood. So I think we got a good thing going. I think let's hope we can continue. It's the youth, the younger teams. It's funny because we used to be that U13 team. And all of a sudden it hit me the other day when somebody said we're U16, and I'm like, no, that seems like a lot. And then come to find out we are U16. So we have 3 seasons left.
Yeah, I remember
Basically
coming
has 3
to watch
seasons left.
you guys play. When Serene was younger, we'd come to watch you guys play at U13, U14, and thought that was the light years away. And now here we're at U14, which is weird because Serene's 12, but that's where we're at.
Yeah. Right. And all of a sudden you'll have 2 more years of club full of time. But now we go half the season club, half the season high school.
Yeah, no, actually we're 1 full year. And then
you're right, because you're young.
Yeah, Serene's young, so she'll run into that, that really crappy year, where half the teams in high school and half the teams in 8th grade, which I hate. I think that's a wasted spring. So yeah, we have 1 full year and then 1 fall. And then
okay.
Then I don't know what we'll do. I guess you hang around and then go play for the boys.
Yeah, that's another travesty that USYS hasn't figured out yet.
Yeah.
I'd like to find that answer out, but I don't think we'll ever get it. I mean, there's a reason why, but I don't like it.
Yeah.
But well, hey, it's hour and 10 minutes already.
Yeah, that's a lot.
It goes by quick. Well, I appreciate you coming on, and I'm going to tell Jeremy he listened. He actually chimed in a little bit on my text change, so it was fun. I appreciate you having on.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me on. I will enjoy going back to being the smart ass comments next week. I like.
Yeah, we didn't have as many comments this week because you were on, but well, I appreciate it. Hold tight. I'm going to stop this, and then we'll download. But